And a spokesperson for Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has released a statement on his behalf saying, "We are saddened to hear this news and our thoughts with his family." US President Donald Trump has also expressed his sympathies, writing on social media, "Melania and I are saddened to hear about Joe Biden's recent medical diagnosis. We extend our warmest and best wishes to Jill and the family, and we wish Joe a fast and successful recovery." While Joe Biden's former Vice President, Kamala Harris, wrote, "Doug and I are saddened to learn of President Biden's prostate cancer diagnosis. We are keeping him, Dr. Biden, and their entire family in our hearts and prayers during this time. Joe is a fighter, and I know he will face this challenge with the same strength, resilience and optimism that have always defined his life and leadership. We are hopeful for a full and speedy recovery."
Joining me now is former White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney. Mick, thanks so much for your time. Shocking news to wake up to this morning.
It is maybe not surprising given the former president's age, but certainly it's a rough prognosis at any time to get this sort of insight into an aggressive cancer. Your introduction there did, I think, a very good job of explaining the details and so forth. If there's one silver lining, it does appear to be a type of cancer that responds well to hormone therapy, which I imagine they will begin almost immediately. But that being said, it has metastasized to the bones, which makes it more difficult to treat. We saw that Donald Trump reached out almost immediately on Truth Social to send good wishes to his former adversary. I think, Laura, it's very interesting. You know, everybody assumes politics, everybody hates each other, and a lot of that is for show. A lot of that is presentation. And at the end of the day, these are two gentlemen who have held the highest office in the land and probably share a good bit more than they realize. So I thought it was nice of Mr. Trump to reach out today.
Yeah, I think so too. A message on behalf of he and Melania as well. I mean, given, you know, you do know intimate details of how the White House is run, how the doctors work with the president. I mean, is this somewhat surprising given when Joe Biden was president, he has a team of doctors around him. I imagine that they are running diagnostics and checking, you know, his health constantly. Would that have happened while he was president?
It absolutely would have. Presidents are, as you can imagine, very closely watched in so many ways by their medical teams and so forth because of the import of what they do for a living. Mm-hmm. But that being said, just because you're checked regularly doesn't mean that you can't get cancer in a hurry. I don't know how other ways to put it. Keep in mind, this is a very aggressive form of cancer. So listen, I've heard some of the conspiracy theories already on the internet so far today that they've known about this for a while and they hid it, or that they've known about it for a while and they released it today because because Joe Biden doesn't like the negative attention he's getting to his mental condition that's come out in this new book that's just hit the stores this week. I don't buy any of that. Again, I'm conservative with a small c, so you sort of have to convince me of conspiracy theories before I'll believe them. But no, it's not at all, it wouldn't be at all unexpected to have regular checkups as a president, which you do, and then still have this pop up relatively quickly.
Yeah, it just reminds us all that we all are human, no matter what. Even if you are president and have a team of doctors around you. You brought up Original Sin. This is this book that has come out. It's co-authored by Jake Tapper from CNN, talking about the decline of Joe Biden. And this book, it doesn't editorialise, but it does raise this prospect that Joe Biden's health was declining even before he was first elected president.
Yeah, it was. Look, the book is tough. It just is. Keep in mind that one of the gentlemen who wrote this is a CNN news presenter, and he's essentially writing a story about how the media covered up for Joe Biden when he was one of the leading voices doing it. I mean, you could go on the internet and find that dozens of clips where he literally attacked Republicans on his show for questioning Joe Biden's mental capabilities. So he was part of the cover up, and it's not lost on a lot of Republicans is that this how is it that this guy has now sort of found religion and decided to come forward and talk about this? So it's a very unusual situation.
You talked about the book. You explained that Jake Tapper, was one of these CNN presenters who would defend Joe Biden and his mental capacity and really attack any Republicans that question otherwise.
He would. And we've talked about it on this show. I think I looked it up. We went back to October of 2022 was the first conversation you and I had about Joe Biden's mental capabilities. That's when he had attended a press conference in the United States here and asked where a congresswoman was. She wasn't at the meeting. Well, she had passed away, and he had known she had passed away because he spoke about it the day before. And anybody who's familiar with dementia knows that this is one of the early warning signs. So it was out in the open, but the media did cover up for Joe Biden. There's going to be congressional investigations. I don't think there'll be congressional investigations into what his actual mental capabilities were, because that would be very difficult for Congress to find. But if there was a cover up, Laura, if there were members of the White House team, if there were members of the press who knew that the president may have been mentally impaired and covered that up, that could be a serious problem for them. And I would expect the Republicans in Congress now to investigate that fully.
Yeah, I remember talking about that in 2022 because for a long time there was this weird silence in the US press. Even, on Fox, CNN, CNBC, no one was really talking about the decline of Joe Biden, but international media outlets like Sky News Australia was.
Well, it's not comfortable. I mean, Americans don't want to talk about the fact that the presidents might be limited in some fashion. Sometimes you do have to rely on the international press to sort of get a perspective from outside looking in. But now that the book is out, I do not think this cancer diagnosis today will have any impact on the investigation that Congress will do. The two different stories. There's a great deal of sympathy for the former president. He was a longtime public servant, and so we'll watch his health very closely. But that doesn't change what the media did, perhaps what the White House did, and we'll get to the bottom of that here in the next several months.
Yeah, enjoy Miami, Mick. Great to talk to you as always.